Yo, what is up, guys? Vincenzo from home of Milan, and today we're going to be reviewing match day 9 versus Juventus in the San Siro. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and let's just jump right into this. Make sure you guys are following us on Instagram at home of Milan, Twitter at home of Milan, and also follow us on Bunches at home of Milan. We're everywhere, so make sure you guys stay involved with us, and we really want to hear what you guys think about the game and obviously just Milan in general. So first things first, this is match day 9 for Milan. We're in the San Siro for this game versus Juventus. Juventus, obviously, very lackluster in their first couple games in Serie A. And obviously Milan, we took that really hard hit in the derby, but we really bounced back and we really got some positive results, bringing back a lot of wins and no draws, which is very positive. Us playing, very good styles of play. But obviously, the big news coming into this game was no Teo, no Magnon, and there's a lot of just question marks in the team for a little bit, obviously coming back from the international break. So in the first half, obviously Milan, I felt like we played a good half. Obviously, we had 60% possession. Obviously, that's our game. We're very possession based. Um, and we have 60% possession in the first half, which obviously is very good. Going in, we were attacking a lot, through Liao, and Pulisic was trying to create a couple chances, but couldn't really come off. And then obviously that Giroud chance in the first half with the Chesney save, which was very good. It was a good save from Chesney, I will admit it, but Giroud maybe could be doing a little bit better. But regardless, you reap what you sow. And what really was the main headline in the first half was the red card from Malik Thiaw. He's made a lot of mistakes in these big games, and people are questioning his ability in these big matches. Obviously, in the derby, leading up to I think the first couple of goals, he slipped and fell, or whatever, got beaten by his man very easily. And we saw it again. Moise Kean, not really the most prolific striker for Juventus, but he did get past Malik Thiaw fairly easily, and obviously Thiaw, pulled him down, thus resulting in a red card because he was the last man. So maybe Thiaw made the mistake. I think he definitely did because, it's still very early in the game, right? It was, I believe, the 40th minute or something like that, where, we're down 10 men with the whole rest of the second half left to go. And this kind of shows me a lack of trust in his teammates. Obviously, with no Mike Magnon because of his suspension for the Genoa game, we're missing Sportiello because of injury. We were forced to play Mirante. Obviously, there was a lot of jokes for Giroud to come in the goal, but in all seriousness, it was Mirante who was called up. Mirante did well, but for Thiaw, I feel like it's a lack of trust in his teammates. So obviously, it resulted in a red card, which really hindered us with how we play, and it really showed because we couldn't really attack. We had 7 shots the whole game, and we just really couldn't break past that Juventus back line. Obviously, they're a team that sits back and hits you on the counter. Typical Allegri dinosaur football. The rest of the second half, it was very boring to say the least. Obviously, Milan couldn't really create. We couldn't really get past that back line. And it's not like Juventus played incredible, right? Juventus, by all means, didn't play good, right? And it was more or less Milan's mistakes made Juventus look good, right? And it was, us playing with 10 men the whole time. And it was the only reason why Juventus could, break forward and go up and, really kind of challenge our defenders. I want to give a special shout out to Calabria because he really gets a lot of stick in these sort of games. But for me, I feel like he was probably the best player on the pitch next to Liao. On Sunday, he played very well, I feel like. And I feel like this is a great sign moving forward, and a couple big games if he can keep this momentum going. That's very promising. It's up to Calabria to really stay fit and really lock in for these next couple games, considering we play a lot of big teams up next. We play PSG in the Champions League on Wednesday, and then we play Napoli in Serie A. So hopefully Calabria can kind of keep that form going forward. As of our defense, obviously we have a hole now with Thiaw with a red card, and it's very frustrating that our defenders keep getting red cards. Obviously, Teo with an accumulation of yellow cards, Magnon with a red card, Tomori with a red card versus Roma, and obviously now Malik Thiaw with a red card versus Juventus. So it's very frustrating that we're not disciplined. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because our back line is very young. Obviously Thiaw is very young, Tomori is very young, and Teo is kind of just that guy who's always, getting fouls, and just making silly remarks, right? Talking back to the ref and so on. But I think there's also a plus because we're going to see Kalulu come back. And it was nice to see Kalulu again because I feel like we haven't seen him in a very long time. So hopefully we can see that partnership of Kalulu and Tomori back. It's very crucial, those two players in our defense, because we conceded not a lot of goals, which is, obviously very good going forward. Hopefully they can, resume what they had. And obviously Tomori, he's been on some good form recently in these last couple games following that red card. So hopefully, Tia will take a page out of that book and do what Tomori did, come back stronger and really kind of focus and lock in these next couple games. It's very refreshing to see a player like Pulisic really show his colors and, do very well. And I feel like he's been playing very good for us recently. He was upset coming off, definitely, and you can see it. But someone had to be sacrificed. People were saying, oh, maybe Giroud should be the one sacrificed because he's slower and he can't really get into those spaces. But regardless how we play, right, we play with the hold up striker. Giroud is the one who holds up the play and kind of lays it off to either Leao or Pulisic. It was Pulisic who was sacrificed and not Giroud because of how we play, to say the least, right? And people were saying Okafor should have came in, and we'll get to that because obviously Jovic came in, and again we'll get to that because he wasn't good. But we move. We couldn't really create, we couldn't really do much, and obviously Juventus being Juventus, they scored a very lucky goal. Juventus were only good because Milan was handicapped. Let's be completely honest here. I think if Milan had all 11 players, I think we would have wiped the floor with them because we saw in the first half we were creating, we were causing trouble for them. Leao was running riot. In that first half, when we had all 11 guys, we were creating trouble for Juventus, and it was clear and obvious because we had most of the possession. We were really taking the game to Juventus, and they were struggling. But of course, they got a lifeline, and it was us playing with 10 men. And to be fair, I'll throw my hands up. We didn't play bad with 10 men. Obviously, it's a handicap that we had, but to be completely fair, we held off Juventus until that lucky Locatelli goal. To be fair, I think this result flatters Juventus. It's a 1-0. It's a very dodgy goal, a Locatelli deflection, which is technically an own goal, but we'll give him the goal for the benefit of the doubt. But it's a result, I think, that is unfair to us because I think at minimum we deserved a draw, at least, because Juventus weren't up to par to what their standards are, at least. But regardless, we move. And there's not really much to talk about in this game, to be honest, other than the red card, the Locatelli goal, and the Giroud chance in the first half. Let's talk about the subs from Pioli. Pioli, I think he didn't get the subs 1000% wrong, but I think at minimum it's a 5 out of 10. Obviously, Pulisic was the one that had to be sacrificed, and we kind of already touched on that, so I won't go too much in depth. But let's get on to, I think, for me, which is the main talking point in terms of substitutions, which was Luka Jovic coming in for Giroud. I think Luka Jovic was one of the most useless players that came on, and he didn't create anything. It's like almost he came on, and now we're down to 9 men, right? He didn't do much. He's not fast. He didn't pressure, really. He didn't do anything, in my opinion. And he had 30 minutes to kind of go in and do something. For me personally, I feel like it's Pioli neglecting Okafor because I feel like this was the perfect game for Okafor to come in because if we're down to 10 men, right, I think it's Okafor who maybe, we keep in Adli as well. Adli throws in a long ball. Okafor gets it. Maybe Leao, kind of does his magic or something, right? Okafor has the pace and the dribbling, and we've seen it before. We saw it against Lazio, and we saw it, against all the goals that, he scored for us. Like, I hate it because Pioli at the end of the game in the press conference, he was saying, oh, Okafor wasn't match fit. I'm calling a load of bull crap because Okafor came back early in the international break because he, came with like a head injury or something like that. But regardless, he had not only a full week to recover, but he had a full week at the Milan camp, training, preparing for this game. and Pioli chooses to leave Okafor on the bench and put in Jovic, who hasn't showed us anything whatsoever. Okafor has to be that sub going forward. If not, for me at least, he should be the starter, right? I think he should start over Giroud, and the front three should be Leao, Okafor, Pulisic, point blank. The last sub we saw was Luca Romero, and this was Luca Romero's first game in Serie A for AC Milan, and I think I didn't hate what I saw, to be honest. I think he was running at his defenders. He was really challenging them, and he was getting into those spaces. He didn't do bad. He didn't do good, but I mean, he showed a lot of promise. So I think that's something to kind of look forward to for Luca Romero on that right hand side, and especially since Chukwueze is hurt, I think we're going to see a lot more of Luca Romero. And then lastly, Rade Krunic. Rade Krunic was simply just not good. He wasn't good. He didn't really create much, and I think instead of subbing Krunic for Adli, it should have been probably Krunic for Musa. Adli was, creating and doing, what he does best, right? Slinging in those long balls and, kind of creating space and, doing that sort of thing. But regardless, Krunic was terrible. I feel like he didn't really create much. And, he just did little to nothing. And I think that's all I can really say. This is a very tough pill to swallow for us fans because, again, Juventus didn't really create much. And obviously, it's Locatelli, a former Milan player who scored. We have to move forward. And technically, 6 points dropped. Inter beat Torino, and then obviously we lost against Juventus. So it's technically 6 points dropped because obviously now we dropped to second place. But we're only 2 points behind Inter. It's not an insane, loss because the narrative for Milan changes week by week. We win a game and it's, the signings are doing good. Pioli is showing good strides of how, we play and we've recovered from the derby and, we're scoring goals and defensively we're doing well and, a lot of, positive things. But then when things don't go our way, we lose. Then it's the new signings aren't doing their part and, are there question marks surrounding Pioli? Is Leao up to, the world class, title that he has? And, there's just a lot of headlines that go on. And I think it's that's just Serie A football. And that's just, how it's going to be. And, they're always saying, oh, Milan's not on par with the other teams. And obviously it's Juventus playing one match a week. And it's, obviously Inter are, firing on all cylinders. And it's, Napoli is back because Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen are scoring. And, Milan is going to, drop. And I think it's a load of baloney. I think it's a load of bull crap. And I think there is some truth behind it. I will, be transparent about it, but I think it's a little irrational to say all these things because, again, it's match week 9, and I think, we have a tough schedule, but regardless, we have the rotation to do it. It's up to Pioli to make the right decisions or not. You have to deal with the cards you're dealt with, and obviously, it was a big blow not having mainly Teo there because Teo is a very attacking outlet for us, right? He, just those trademark, runs, up the middle and, maybe he scores a goal or he passes in the middle and he creates a lot of space for a lot of the other players. So I think we definitely missed Teo, obviously, more than we missed Magnon. And obviously it shows because we have Florenzi at right back and it was Florenzi's mistake who left Tia alone with Moise Kean. So it shows that we were missing Teo a lot, but we'll have him obviously against the game versus PSG, and we'll have him against the game versus Napoli. So I want to know what you guys think, who we missed, what happened with Pioli and the subs and everything like that, and who you thought was the man of the match and who you thought was the flop of the match. I think the man of the match for Milan was Calabria. I think Calabria played very well. I think he was, sticking to his man, and he kind of kept that side of the field a little quiet. Which was encouraging to see because I'm hoping Calabria can keep that form. Obviously, he's our captain, and obviously we want our captain to have the best performances on the pitch. For me, man of the match, Calabria, and obviously I think it's no question that the flop of the match was Tia. I think, he really hurt the rest of the team, and I think he needs to trust the rest of the team because of the red card. It's going to hinder his starting spot. So maybe we're going to see Kalulu return to that starting spot with Tomori, and then maybe Kier gets back into that starting spot. But regardless, Flop of the match, Tia, man of the match, Calabria for me. So we move on to the next match, which is in the Champions League against PSG. Obviously, we're in Paris. We have all the guys, and what's very encouraging to see is Ismail Benacer is back training with the group, and he's showing signs that he's getting back to match fitness. Obviously, Ismail Benacer brings a lot of quality to our team, and obviously he's easily our best midfielder, hands down. I don't think he'll start versus PSG, but maybe in these next couple games, maybe after the Napoli game, we'll see Benacer. Hopefully, we'll see him soon though, because we all love Benacer, and I think he's easily our best midfielder. So just really quick, maybe match predictions. Look, PSG obviously with their weapons, Mbappe, Dembele, Kolomuani, and I can go on, but I think if Milan, I hate to say, if we get a draw in Paris, I think it's a win. If we kind of go in and really show our quality, and I think this PSG team is relatively weaker than previous PSG teams that we've seen in the past. So I think if we can really take advantage of that, that'll be a plus. If we can really bring home a positive result, because obviously we haven't won. We've gotten 2 draws against Newcastle and against Borussia Dortmund. It's very tough going forward to see what can happen, because then you're going to start to ask questions if we don't gain 3 points in these next couple games for the Champions League, because then our chances to go through are going to be a lot more harder, especially what happens in the Borussia Dortmund game with Newcastle, because this is what the Champions League is all about. If you don't want to play the big teams in the Champions League, you don't deserve to be there. And for me, I've always said I wanted to play the big teams. I wanted, the big games. I wanted the PSGs, Real Madrids, and whatever. Um, and I think this is just going to make us grow as a team, right? And we've showed some good character in these last couple games. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting in these last couple of games. Just to touch up really quick on Napoli, we'll have everybody back. We'll have Teo, we'll have Magnon, obviously no Tia in this game because of the red card. But I think we can probably see maybe Kalulu or Kier take that spot, which is, pretty self-explanatory. And Osimhen, I think he might actually be gone for this match, to be honest. That's what reports are saying, but obviously it changes day by day. So we'll have to see what happens between the last couple of days before the game to see if he's fit or if he's not. But obviously Kvaratskhelia is scoring again, so that's kind of a worry and a trouble for us. But I think we can, we've seen in the past Calabria has locked him down, and I'm hoping, again, like I said, if he can continue this form, it'll make the job a lot easier. Hopefully, again, if we can get a result versus Napoli, it'll make our life a lot easier, and we can, kind of keep this momentum of staying in the top 2. If we can stay in the top 2 by Christmas, then I think that's very encouraging, because last year, we were up there in the top 2, but then obviously we always say in January, February, we have this dip, and, we, lose our momentum for the Scudetto race. So if we can stay in that top 2, it's very encouraging and it's very positive. We need to win. We have to win versus Napoli, and this is the perfect time for us to strike. No Osimhen, and Napoli are kind of shaking these last couple games. They won the last game, but we have to take advantage, and especially because we dropped points against Juventus. So yeah, that's all. Sorry, my mic died, you guys, but yeah, that'll do for this video, guys. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I want to know what you guys have to think about Milan and the whole situation and these last couple of games, and obviously the games going forward and our chances in Champions League, and what we need to do to kind of get the ground running again. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on Instagram at Home of Milan, Bunches at Home of Milan, and Twitter at Home of Milan. And check out our TikTok at Home of Milan as well, because we'll be posting there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao ragazzi.